It's time to get real, reality TV aficionados. Welcome to the Giorgio Says podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Giorgio Takanakis, and I'm here serving you the juiciest updates on all your favorite reality shows weekly, as well as the hottest pop culture trends, and even exclusive interviews that will leave you wanting more. This podcast will keep you on the edge of your seat. We definitely need to talk about this. The Giorgio Says podcast starts now.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Giorgio Says the podcast. I have been on hiatus. If you guys joined me on my episode yesterday, I actually did it live, but that's actually what I want to kind of discuss right up front because it's a new year. And I am restructuring things, my schedule. I am continuing to go live every day. I initially wanted to have you guys join the podcast live with me, but because I am so ADD and I can't keep up with what I want to talk about versus making sure I engage with all of you, I thought it's best that I just pre-record my podcast like I was doing before and join you guys for my normal live where we can just shoot the shit and talk about Bravo, talk about Housewives, and whatever else you frankly want to talk about, because essentially that's the point of doing the live. I feel like it's not the same experience if I'm up here talking and I'm recapping it and I'm not able to engage with you guys, because I do love engaging with you guys. That's one of the main reasons why I do this. But nonetheless, I just want to let you guys know that my podcast will be Monday through Friday. We are going back to the Monday through Friday schedule. However, it will not be live, just because I feel like that'll be the best experience for all. And yeah, so let's get into what we're discussing today on this episode. We obviously are coming off the back of the Salt Lake City finale, which was, as far as TV goes, guys, this was probably the best finale and Housewives episode of all time. Like, I really mean that. Like, I think most of you guys can agree that that was some epic TV. But I'm not here to discuss Salt Lake City. I am going to give you guys some updates regarding what's been happening over in Salt Lake City regarding Monica and the Tanisha of it all. But we're mainly going to discuss and recap the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills today. And we have some things to discuss there, mainly around this whole situation with Garcelle and Dorit, because I do feel like Dorit is playing dumb and smart at the same time, and I don't ever buy into that behavior. You're either dumb or you're smart, but you surely can't be both, specifically on this specific topic. But before we get into the Beverly Hills of it all, I do want to do a segment at the top of the episode where I kind of go through some quick tea and give you guys a little update on what's going on outside of what we're discussing on the episode today. So let's get into some quick tea. All right, so the quick tea for today is, you guessed it, we're still talking about Salt Lake City. So since the episode aired, we know that there's been a lot of things being leaked, mainly from Tanisha, who is Heather's hairstylist and was Monica's really good friend. And I believe Monica referred to her as her best friend at one point. So it seems that Tanisha did not like the fact that Monica threw her under the bus and basically made it seem like she was the one that started this account or that she was running it. So Tanisha obviously was going to spill her own receipts, and she did, and she sent out a lot of screenshots from conversations that she had with Monica, and she explained what her involvement was in the beginning of starting this page with them. She really wanted to make sure that she got her story out there, because it looks like Monica and the edit is going to make it seem like Tanisha is the one that had the hot potato. But there was a video that surfaced, and it looks like there's a video. Tanisha did leak this video, but it was a video that Monica had sent her mom, Linda, after Angie K's Greek Easter lunch, where that whole debacle went down. And in the video, you hear Linda basically kind of berating Monica about the fact that she left, or she stormed out, or she wasn't being as nice. And then her mom goes and says that, it's about getting airtime, it's about playing nice. I know you don't like these bitches, but you've got to do what you got to do. You're an actress. You've got to get in there and you've got to get that airtime. So obviously, that was part of probably a bigger conversation, but I want to go back because I know this is called quick tea, and I'll keep it quick, I promise. I just want to say that when all of this was playing out in the beginning, I said that I don't buy it. I don't buy what we're being sold from Monica and Linda. I think that they were both in on this. I think they both schemed together. They're way too comfortable to exploit their problems. And this video to me shows that that was pretty accurate, if I do say so myself. I'm not sure where Monica's future lies within this show, because again, as much as I think that she was absolutely necessary to bring the ranking up of this franchise, who was pretty much in the toilet in season 3, give her flowers, give her a raise, give her a bonus, all the things, okay? But the other point to this is where's the interest lie with Housewives now? Is it the Monicas of the world? Do we need more Monica Fowlers to be on these shows in order for us to keep our interests piqued or to think that the show is good? I don't know. The other caveat is, what I will say that I appreciate about Salt Lake City this season is they really kept a lot of this under wraps. And a lot of times on these shows, by the time we do get to the season finale, we pretty much already know what's going to happen at the season finale and then some. So I do appreciate that aspect of keeping it under wraps. No one said anything or made any type of claim that this was going to come out. So appreciate that. But the quick tea that I have is that, and this is interesting. So Dana Wilkie, shout out to Dana Wilkie, she had posted a receipt of basically Jen Shaw and her husband, I guess, back in 2021, figured out who was behind this reality Von Teese Instagram burner account. And so they sent a cease and desist to Monica and what seems to be whoever was in charge. So not specifically just to Monica, but it was like to whoever was running it. So that kind of leaves me thinking a couple things. I know on the show, the rest of the ladies were in complete shock that it was Monica that was named as one of the people that was running that account. However, back in 2021, if this cease and desist letter went out, it's really challenging for me to now sit here and believe that Jen Shaw knew pretty much who it was, but then sent the cease and desist, but then never mentioned it to the other ladies. So are you telling me that none of these other ladies had an inkling that Monica was one of the people behind those accounts? Like, that's where I'm getting confused now, because I don't really buy that wouldn't have come up. You guys are very invested in this account as it is. You talked about it on the finale that, oh, we woke up every day not knowing what was going to come out about us, being attacked, being bullied, but you never had Jen never relayed information to you guys about who it could possibly be and who she had sent the cease and desist to. So that's a little, that raises a flag for me. I'm not sure if it's a red flag yet, but it surely raises a flag, because it's just like, well, we're pretending like we were in complete shock by this news. And I get we're on a TV show and you have to like do your job, but this part of it is getting a little odd. So maybe this is something that will get discussed at the reunion. And maybe this is part of the other elements that Monica was referring to when she said that there's a lot more that I could have said that I didn't think was the right time to say it. So we'll have to continue watching, but that's the quick tea for today's episode. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, does that change things for you? I mean, it doesn't change a whole lot for me, but it does make me question the other ladies a little bit more about how much they knew about who may or may not have been running this account. But anyways, let's get into Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, shall we? Because Garcelle and Dorit, I'm not sure how they're going to be able to manage to work through this one.
Golly Nutrition is an inventive, people-focused nutrition company committed to providing innovative products that make taking your daily supplements simple and delicious. Their products are formulated with quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will absolutely enjoy. And at the core of it all, they lead with purpose. Golly for Good is an initiative committed to playing a profound role in supporting the health of our planet as well as our local communities. Learn more about their initiatives such as B Corp certification, Vitamin Angels partnership, and Eden reforestation projects at their Golly for Good page. And if you use my special code, The Giorgio Says, at checkout, you will receive a special discount. Now let's get back into the episode.
All right. So we are in the thick of Beverly Hills. I think we're at the midway point pretty much at this point. I'll be honest, guys, this last episode of Beverly Hills, it wasn't horrible, but it really felt like a lot of the same content from the last episode. Like, I feel like they replayed the entire fight with Denise and Erika when they just needed to pick up where they left off. And I felt like that cut into like a lot of time. We also, if you noticed last week, when they had that episode in the trailer, Crystal looks like she's going off about, you know, the group wanting her to yell all the effing time. We didn't get that scene. And then people ask, well, why are things being cut out for Crystal? Why are they not leaving things in? Because there's a lot of scenes where she did speak up or she did defend people and it was not shown. So it looks like she's sitting there mute, not defending anyone or having an opinion, even though we know she has an opinion and a strong one at times. So I'm not sure what production and editing is doing there with that or what their reason is behind it. Can't be certain, but I'm not going to say it's because a lot of us called it out for them cutting out that one little scene, but they did show it to us as a flashback in this episode because Crystal is talking to Rob and she brings up the fact that the ladies constantly are on her about, you know, speaking up and saying how she feels and whatnot. And she does feel like she has strong opinions. And maybe to her point, she is speaking up when she feels it's necessary. But maybe this is where the real life Crystal and the reality show Crystal have not met, because the point is, and I love Crystal, the point is, yes, you are probably saying your opinion. You probably are speaking up, but in the sense that you're probably speaking up the way you would speak up if you were at a normal gathering with friends and there weren't cameras around and there weren't audio people standing around you and boom mics everywhere and lighting. So I think sometimes she gets lost in the sauce because I think for her, she's trying to find a point of connection with these ladies. And it doesn't seem like she has the biggest connection with a lot of them, but also she gets comfortable in the setting. And I think she leans back and she falls back into observing. Now, I will say this, as an Aquarius, a fellow Aquarius myself, I have a lot of strong opinions. Obviously, you guys follow me as one of those reasons that I have an opinion, or I'll say what I'm thinking and I, you know, recap the episodes in a way that's pretty straightforward, but I try to keep a sense of humor about it. But nonetheless, there are times where I go aloof. If I'm not comfortable within a group of people, I'm not going to just jump out of the thin air and start telling people what I think. But if I'm on a show, so at least for me, I can speak for myself. If I'm on camera, it's completely different Giorgio, not because I'm not being myself, but because I'm aware that this is for content. So everything needs to be leaned into. If in real life I didn't really have that strong of an opinion about something, I might have a very strong opinion now that the cameras are up because that's the way it goes. I'm not saying that that's 100% of Crystal's problem, because again, I don't know what the relationship with the producers are like and what they're telling editors to keep in, keep out, or what the editors feels best. Again, it's a mystery. But it seems like because maybe Crystal's not playing the way that they may want her to play, they're kind of cutting her out of things that she would have been in. That's how it feels. But nonetheless, Crystal also brings up the fact that all the skinniness that's happening within the group is really triggering her. And we all know that Crystal has been very vocal about her ED and how she has struggled with it. And, you know, I can see from her angle this season, it's like, yeah, everyone's either on Ozempic or on a fitness journey or on a midlife crisis. Everyone's dropping weight left and right. And she's battling with herself on this because she already has this this issue with how she views her eating habits and, you know, dealing with all that and then having to hang out with women that are dropping weight so fast. That's got to be so triggering for her. Absolutely. But we also get another Kim Richards appearance. You guys know my view on this. I'm happy to have Kim like on the show as like cameo, not even a friend of, cameos like we're getting where she splashes in and she splashes out. Because honestly, guys, I've said this time and time again, she needs to be protected at all costs. It seems like even after this episode, Kim has spent a lot of time doing some inner work, and it seems like it's paid off for her because she's able to feel her feelings and be present within her own feelings. And that is showing that she's able to then better support Kyle. And that came through very strongly in the scene that Kyle and Kim had together, because they're talking about where Kyle and Kathy's relationship's going to go and how does that impact Kyle. Because from Kyle's standpoint, she really feels like she can't be around that mean, icy nastiness that probably is Kathy when Kathy's not in a good place. And listen, I'm sure it is very triggering. And they do discuss how their mom was very much, she had a bad temper. And we've read about this, we've known about this. If you've read anything about Big Kathy, then you know that like this is a big deal that they're even speaking like this. And even when I recapped Paris in Love season 2, I discussed how Kathy has a very open conversation around her mom and how she spoke about people and how freely she spoke about, you know, her stepfather in front of her and how that triggered her and made her not want to speak negatively about anything around her children to keep it a safe space. And I kind of heard something similar with Kyle on last night's episode when she said, you'll never hear any yelling or fighting in this house ever. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't arguments, but maybe it's Kyle makes sure that when there is an argument between her and Mo, or when there has been, that she does it when there's not kids around or no one's there, and so whatever have you. But it sounded again like this protective mechanism that Kyle kind of enforced in her own space because she didn't feel safe when she was probably growing up. It felt very chaotic, she said. So that was interesting because we're starting to unpack this Big Kathy, dare I say, trauma. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to their mother, but there's obviously trauma there because they're all dealing with conflicts in different ways. And I think Kyle's trying to decide, does she really want to continue trying to work on a relationship with Kathy if every time they turn the bend, something else happens that then ices Kyle out again? But then on the other side, Kyle is the youngest. And as someone who is the youngest, sometimes we tend to make the whole thing about us all the time. And we don't realize that it's you know, other people have different opinions and have been affected by things differently. So although they may not see where we're coming from, it's not to say that they don't respect us. And I feel like Kyle is yearning for a sense of validation and respect, which is why I believe this whole thing is playing out the way it is. Call it what you want, a midlife crisis, I've had enough of this, or I'm putting me first, whatever it is. It's not that she's taking care of herself that people are, or I'm not questioning that part of it because that's important. At some point, people should get to a point where they put themselves first and they stand their ground or they create boundaries. I just think that she's using it in some ways to weaponize it against people that have hurt her. And that's not a bad thing, but it's definitely not healthy long term. But I get it. I do. I don't think it's the best approach, but I do understand why she would take that approach. But you know, I didn't touch on too much of the Denise and Erika of it all because it was pretty much the same old, same old. But what I will say about this is, and I don't know, you guys let me know what you really think, and this can be an open conversation because it's quite interesting. But when we talk about, sorry, my nose is like so itchy, someone must be talking about me. But with the whole Erika bringing up Sammy and the OF account and all, and asking who makes more money, Denise or Sammy, listen, I agree that people's kids should be left out of this housewives world, right? I think we can all agree to that. However, don't come for me because I'm not meaning this in a negative way, but I'm simply saying, at what point are kids off limits when they're no longer kids? I guess my question is, if Sammy wasn't on OF and let's say Erika brought her up just to be nasty, then that would be reckless and nasty and underhanded. And I would say that's awful, right? But Denise came into this looking to pick another fight about something that happened 3 or 4 years ago that really in the end of it all wasn't that deep. Because if you know Denise Richards and her history and her past, you would know that whatever was talked about at that table is probably PG compared to what those kids have probably heard in their lifetime. I'm not excusing it, but also, Denise, you chose to have your kids outside of an adult table when you're filming for a reality show that you know is not meant for children. So if I was Denise, I would have not opted for that. But because you did, you also had convenient amnesia when it was brought to your attention that you also were speaking about sexual things at that same table. You referred to your husband's penis as big, and you were going down that road too. So it's not like she was Mother Teresa at that dinner table. And even Sutton was like, yeah, I was at that dinner and you absolutely were talking like that. So it's almost like she doesn't really have an issue, but she needed to find something because I secretly think she really wants to be on this show, but she, for the life of her, can't figure out how to get in there and play the game. Garcelle's tried to help you multiple times. She keeps bringing you to, to the baseball field and teeing you up to bat, and then you keep striking out. And this is coming from someone who was uber excited for Denise Richards to join this cast. But the Denise that I thought was coming on the show doesn't seem to exist anymore. And I'm not going to get into what I think it is. But after watching her again last night, it's clear to me that Denise is not present anymore. And that's okay. But then don't keep coming on the show being a mess. And then when the edit comes out, then you're like talking smack. So that's where I get bothered. It's like you knew what you're walking into. You've done this before. So that's what I'll say about that. Now, we talked about Kim and Kyle. We talked about Crystal and not speaking up enough. But we now need to talk about, well, first, actually, let's talk about Sutton's date quickly. Because I thought it was fantastic. And I'm glad that she actually seemed like she was actually enjoying this man's time. He was very up Sutton's alley, very handsome, great smile, didn't talk about his mother the entire time, didn't say anything weird, and they both love true crime podcasts, and Sutton gave this man her number, which is always a bonus because if you saw her last date, you knew it was a very awkward ending and that guy was definitely not going to get her phone number. So I think this guy has potential. Now I'm not sure if this was just strictly set up for the TV show or this was happening in real time and she actually maybe went out with this gentleman again or continued to talk to him. I would love to know an update because I thought they had some chemistry for sure. But we really need to talk about the issue between Dorit and Garcelle. Now, I know a lot of you guys feel like Garcelle's reaching and that she's just picking on Dorit, essentially. I don't see it that way. I see it as Dorit is trying to play stupid and smart at the same time. She's engaging with Garcelle in a way where you're very intelligent, you're very, very in tune to your surroundings. Case in point, you know how to pick out behaviors from all the different women with no problem. So when you're sitting at Taco Tuesday, and let's frame this up again, there was not even yelling involved. Okay, Garcelle just simply pointed out, Dorit, you were just doing that to embarrass Sutton by mentioning that she had made out with her driver. That doesn't even constitute the word attack being used. So, yes, for Dorit to turn around and say, you're attacking me, well, Dorit, you're not new here. You've been on this show with Garcelle for quite a bit of time, so much so that Garcelle had to remind you back to that conversation, if you guys remember, where Dorit was boasting about how she hires people of color to work for her and that her mom has a best friend that's Black. And obviously that didn't sit well with a lot of people. But Garcelle's question to Dorit in this moment was, have you grown from that moment? Or are you just staying stagnant in your own bubble, being like, not my problem? You know, that's where the issue comes. But what really got me was when Garcelle said that Dorit has some unconscious Karen behavior, because it is a bit like, listen, I'm going to say personally from what I've seen, I don't think that Dorit is trying to come at this from malintent, but perception's reality. And she can say my intent wasn't this and I didn't intend that. Doesn't matter. No one cares about your intent. Also, for anyone out there that needs a little bit of free advice here, if you're in an argument with someone and someone's telling you something that doesn't make you feel good about yourself, making it their problem is not their problem. It's your problem. You feel defensive, that's a you problem. This whole conversation was a waste of time and probably a waste of scene, but here we are. The conversation needs to be had, and I'm glad Garcelle was very transparent with Dorit about where she was coming from and also letting her know, I'm not here to educate you. I don't have the bandwidth for it, because it's not Garcelle's job. And if Dorit doesn't want to take the time to get to know her cast member and understand why those words would be triggering to her, then are you really trying to be her friend, or are you just being fake surface, and then when these things arise, then you want to act like you care? Because that's the thing that conflicts me with Dorit. It's like, in the moment, you're being like ballsy about sticking to your guns, but then when you're having this one-on-one sit down, you're pretending like you just don't understand where this is coming from. And I'm sorry if that made you feel that way, or like, all of that is just BS. And I don't find her, I think the reason why Dorit's getting under Garcelle's skin is because she kind of sometimes gets under my skin too. When she's talking to certain people, it comes off in a very condescending way, if that makes sense. Not overtly, but it's there. And listen, this may never get resolved completely. Or this could be a learning moment for Dorit. Like, truly, maybe we'll see a different Dorit. Maybe she'll come to it. Listen, if Erika has to educate you, Dorit, on how this goes and what you should and shouldn't say to a Black woman, then you aren't doing the work. You're not trying to, even at the very least, have empathy to say, like, oh wow, what would that be like if I was in her shoes, even though you would never know what that feeling is like. Just try. Like that, there's just certain things that trigger people, and she knows how to hit Garcelle where she knows it'll hurt her. So I don't believe that she just innocently said that word. She said it pointedly, and she strategically used the word attack. She knows. This is where I'm like, you don't get to play dumb and then smart at the same time. You just don't. So I don't know what the way forward is for Dorit and Garcelle, but it seems like this is going to be one of those relationships that is going to be hot and cold. They'll get along, but then if Dorit says something that's wild or something that triggers Garcelle, they're going to get right back to the space. But I think every time it's going to get worse and worse and worse. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. But yeah, like I said, I didn't find this episode to be the most entertaining. I feel like we're still not getting a lot of Anne-Marie. She's like dipping in and out. I think we've only seen her maybe, 2, 3 episodes, and there's been 10 so far. I know she's a housewife because she's got a tagline, so not sure what's going on there. But I think after this, the ladies do head to Spain for their cast trip, so that should hopefully start to pick up in momentum. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of the season so far. Did you like last night's episode? And what are your thoughts on this whole Dorit Garcelle situation? What do you think's the way forward? Do you think that Dorit makes everything about herself, and does she get too defensive in these conversations? I would love to know. Also, let me know what your thoughts are on the whole Monica situation and Jen Shaw sending the cease and desist about the 2 Instagram pages for reality Vontees, because I'm dying to hear your thoughts on what you think. Does that mean then that the cast may have known it was Monica the entire time? Very interesting. Also, let me know your thoughts on what I talked about in terms of Sammy being on OF, and where's the line on still treating these people like someone's child versus when they're in real life doing very adult things very publicly. No shame in it, no judgment, but where does that stand when it comes to the conversation that happened with Erika and Denise? Did Erika really hit below the belt? I mean, she hit below the belt, but is that the reason why? Because she brought up Sammy, who is publicly known for doing what she's doing? I don't know. But I will leave you guys with that. And until the next episode, guys, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.